I am Jen, and I am the Director of Curriculum Content for Project Make a Statement, and I'm happy to introduce this curriculum with you once again. This is our 8th lesson so far, and we're just continuing with our old workshops. We're doing this workshop so that you guys can kind of explore this event more and see if you want to do it in the future. And to introduce Make a Statement once again, it is a worldwide nonprofit that aims to educate youth and international students on public speaking and speech and debate. We offer free workshops like this one, webinars, and also camps. And we also post weekly tips on our Instagram, which will provide you with the handle after this lecture. And all profits will go to low-income communities for political and public speaking education. So it'd be great if you check this out. And once again, this curriculum is intended to educate students about the event while establishing their public speaking skills. And this is our 8th workshop, and we have a wonderful guest speaker with us here today, and I'll hand off the mic to her.
Thank you so much, Jen. Is my speaker echoing?
No, it's completely fine. Yeah.
Okay, so first, just a little bit about me, guys, more about my speech and debate journey, and aside from that, so my name is Mira Bali. I'm a senior in high school from the Bay Area. I'm planning on pursuing CS and technology in the future. You know, as a senior, that's omnipresent on my mind. And as for speech and debate, some of my main extracurriculars in high school are speech and debate and volunteering. So for speech and debate, I'm the captain currently of the Extemporaneous team at our school. I lead the team, and it's been a great experience this year. It's been very new with online school, but it's still been amazing, and I'm really proud of everything we've done. Our school, I'm from Doherty Valley High School, which is one of the top 20 programs for speech and debate in the nation. So it's really great that we're still continuing speech and debate. I'm a state level qualifier in National Extemp. And I'm a bridge mentor in speech and debate to middle schoolers. So we have this program called Bridge Mentorship, where you can mentor middle schoolers in speech and debate, and I'm a part of that as well. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here talking to all of you guys. I really enjoy public speaking. I do it often. I've done it all 4 years of my high school. I also do it, like, as I said, as like a bridge mentor and for other stuff. So I really enjoy it, and I hope you guys learn something about XSTEM and decide to join it in the future. Okay, so first we're just going to quickly go over the structure of an XSTEM speech. So basically, XSTEM is a limited prep event. So you get 30 minutes of prep for a 7-minute speech. You have an introduction with your hook, background information, your question, and your answer to the question, which we'll all go over in more detail later. You have your 3 points. Each point should have a claim or an impact. That's similar to kind of how you write like a paragraph in like an argumentative essay. So like a topic sentence, your evidence, and like your impact or like your analysis basically. And then you have a conclusion at the end where you go back to your question, state your answer again, and then you tie back to your hook. So the hook. So the hook in an XSTEM speech is easily the most important part of your speech. And the main reason for that is that as XSTEMpers, we're very honest. We understand that a 7-minute speech about current events is boring. It just is boring. XSTEM is a speech on current events, and usually, you know, people don't care too much about like politics and like economics and like social events that have been happening in the United States or outside the United States as well, because there's national XSTEM and there's international XSTEM. So you can have questions ranging from different countries, or you can choose to do national XSTEM where you're talking about current events in America. But for either of the two, usually your judges will not know what your topic is about and will be very bored listening to your speech. So the hook is easily the most important part because you want to grab your judge's attention at the beginning. If you have an interesting hook, it can like make them tune in even if your topic isn't that interesting, and it can actually help them listen to you. So you want to make sure that like you actually pay a lot of attention to the hook. It usually lasts from like 15 seconds, 30 seconds. It can be anything from like a funny joke to a cultural reference, historical background, personal anecdote. It can be basically anything. The only thing about the hook is that it should relate to your speech, or like it should relate to your question or the topic of your speech. So there is a thread. Like if my topic is the coronavirus, I shouldn't give like a hook about like pies for some reason. Maybe my hook can be like a personal anecdote where like I went through like an illness when I was young, and relate that to like the coronavirus because there's a thread of like, sickness basically. So there should be some sort of link between your topic and your hooks. It shouldn't just be some random joke that has no relationship. But as long as you have that one thread, it can basically be anything. Okay, so moving on to our next part of our speech, which is the background information. So background information is pretty self-explanatory, basically. Like for your topic, you're just giving the background about it. So once again, let's take the pandemic because that is the biggest kind of current event that's been going on for this entire year, which is great. So basically, you would just give your background information on the pandemic. So you basically cite a source with a date. And talk about, okay, the pandemic started in like China and came like, I don't know, to America in like March basically. And then you basically talk a little bit about it and the current situation. And there's like a really good example on the slide. So if you're talking about the Syrian Civil War, you would be like, oh, the Syrian Civil War has been an ongoing battle since 2012, where over, the statistic have already lost their lives and stuff like that. Just to give basically the judge an idea of your topic, because there's a huge chance that they might not know about it. So after you give your background information, you're basically going to like introduce your topic, and your topic for an extemp speech is basically your question. So for each speech in an extemp speech, you're answering a question through your speech. And you want to explicitly repeat your question word for word. When you get your question in your round, you want to make sure that you memorize it at that time and you have it memorized when you give your speech. You don't want to like change any word or anything like that. It's very important that you actually say it word for word. And there's like two types of questions. So you see some examples on the slides. So should the Department of Education loosen regulations on for-profit colleges? Or was the KSI versus Logan Paul fight the biggest event in internet history, right? Both of these questions are yes or no questions. You can say yes, the Department of Education should loosen regulations, or no, it shouldn't. You can say yes, it was the biggest event in internet history, or you can say no, it wasn't. But there's two types of questions. You can also have more open-ended questions, which are not yes or no questions. So you can have questions that are like how questions or why questions. So if you have why is the coronavirus pandemic lasting so long? I'm sure that's a question that everyone has on their minds right now, right? So if you have that as a question, that's not a question you can answer by just saying yes or no, right? That's more of one of those open-ended questions that you can answer just by 3 points. So if you got a question like, why is the coronavirus pandemic lasting for this long? You would say, we can answer this question through 3 key areas of analysis. And then you just list your 3 points. If you have a yes or no question, you would say, we can answer this question with a yes or a no, or you can add an adjective before that by saying with a definite yes or a definite no, and then state your 3 reasons. So if you have a yes or no question, you should also state whether you're saying yes or no to the question, and then state your 3 points or 3 reasons for answering the question that way. If you have an open-ended question, you can just straightly jump to the 3 points. You don't have to say yes or no because you basically can't answer a question, an open-ended question by yes or no. And then your 3 points are kind of like your roadmap. So your roadmap is basically just like think of it as like the topic sentences of your paragraphs in English. You're just giving like a quick sentence of like your points, which basically talk about your points and tell the main reasoning behind them. So if we go back to our pandemic question, why has the coronavirus pandemic lasted so long? You could say, I don't know, weak governance or like weak government. That would be like a topic sentence for your first point. So that's like your roadmap for your first point. And you would see your topic sentence for each of your points. So you would be like, okay, first, weak government. Second, people are being careless. Third, lack of vaccines or something like that. And that would be basically your 3 points and your roadmap for your question. But this is just for like our pandemic question. Obviously, we have different answers on like different points depending on the question. So your 3 points, they're basically like your body paragraphs. Like if you go back to the analogy of like an English essay, think of them like each paragraph, each body paragraph is each point in extemp basically. They usually last from about like 1 minute 15 seconds to 1 minute 45 seconds. You should have your like topic sentence, like your claim, basically what is your point about. Then you're gonna want to have some evidence to back that up. So like cite evidence with dates. There's a great example according to an article published by CNN, and then you also have the date there. And then the analysis and the impact, which is in a sense the most important part of your point, because you want to tell the judge why does your evidence matter, why does your point matter, and how does it relate to the judge. So you always want to make sure that when you're talking in extemp and when you're analyzing your point, you find some way to make it relatable to the judge. in an extemp speech, you may sometimes have like questions about different states. Let's say your judge is from New York and you're from California, right? And your question is about the fires in California. Now, why does the judge care? Like if your question's about the fires in California, the judge is gonna be like, I don't care about this. Like it's never affected me. But you want to make it sound like it has affected them and they should care. One way you can do that, if you have a question like the fires in California, you can be like, the fires in California are causing a greater rise in the general pollution of the entire country. And so it affects you as well because generally air quality is becoming worse for everyone. So that's one way that you can connect it back to the judge and make the judge feel like, yes, oh, this affects me too, I should care. And that's really important. So make sure you're always spending a lot of time on analysis and impact to actually show the judge that your points matter and that basically this is something that they should care about. And at the end, you'll just have your conclusion. So an exam speech should be a 7-minute speech. So you're basically just gonna talk till you hit 7 minutes, like an exact speech should just hit 7 minutes and like stop at there. If you go a little like over, a little under, that's totally fine. In your conclusion, you're going to restate your question word for word. So you're going to say, oh, okay, today we can address this question of, why has the pandemic lasted so long? And then you're going to restate your question again, word for word. Then you're going to restate your answer or your roadmap. So you're going to be like, we saw that the answer was a clear yes because of 3 main reasons. List the 3 key taglines of each of your points. And then at the end, after you're done with all of that, at the very, very end, you're going to link back to your hook. And this basically just helps you tie your whole speech together. Let's say your hook was about like the story of Cinderella. If you started with Cinderella and after your whole question, if you end with Cinderella, it gives it a very unique feel to your speech. It helps your speech basically get all tied up together. It's just a very good way of concluding your speech. So you should always tie back to your hook at the end to make your speech whole and cohesive, basically. And the judges will get really impressed by that. So yeah, always do that. And yeah, we just have some general speech stuff after this. That was basically extemp structure, but this is also like speech stuff that is usually included in extemp. So the speech triangle. Right now, we're really privileged to like, at least in like my state, like speech and debate is still an activity that's still running. In these like trying times where many extracurriculars are closed, we're really privileged to still have it function online and have online tournaments and all of that. So the speech triangle is no longer that important because it's hard for people to see that you're moving in an online setting. But if you've been doing it for a while, I would still recommend doing it. A speech triangle is basically when you just move in a triangle. So for an extemp speech, you have 3 points. So for your first point, you'll go to one part of the triangle, then you'd go like to the other part of the triangle and then like back, basically, and that's like a triangle. And that basically helps you distinguish your points. So when you move to one side and you're like, okay, moving on to my first key area of analysis, it helps the judge show that, hey, you've moved. So this means, okay, this is a different point. This is a distinguished point and it's a different thing. And it helps the judge kind of see the way that your speech is organized and it makes it very easy for the judges to like understand it, basically. That's like the main purpose of the speech triangle. And then hand signals, it's always good to have some hand signals. You probably noticed I do the 3 points like that when I'm like saying 3 points. I do like 1, 2, 3. And stuff like that. Like there's like some general hand gestures when you're really emphasizing something. You can like do this or like this. People do stuff like that. But you should make sure that like you're not always having your hand up, basically. That you are also keeping it down. If you are always having your hand up, then like the importance of hand signals goes away because you're always doing it, basically. And for hand signals, usually you'll get the judges will give you hand signals showing you how much time has passed. All signals are out of 7 minutes, so they'll hold up like 5 fingers indicating like, oh, you have 5 minutes left, or like it'll be 2 fingers for like 2 minutes left and stuff like that up until like 7 minutes. But like you can also always time yourself, especially in like the online setting. You can just have a timer open on like your computer window and like time yourself because you don't want the judges to like mess up your time somehow. Sometimes they will do that. So just like time yourself because that's a really good practice to have. And then for prep, extemp, you get 30 minutes to prepare your 7-minute speech. The recommended is like usually like 15 minutes for outlining and writing, and then 15 minutes for like actually verbal practice and speaking. So that's the recommended though. Like I can say for myself, usually I'm pretty in tune with like current events. I like follow the news and stuff just because I know I'm competing in extemp, so that's gonna pop up all the time. So I'm pretty good with like following the news. So I usually spend like 10 minutes on like prep, and then 10 minutes on like 20 minutes on like speaking, just because I feel like I also know that I want to speak it more just to get the fluency correct and like know it to like, get passionate, tonal modulations and like all that good stuff. But it really depends on the person. If you're more comfortable with like less speaking time and you need more time to like research, then like spend more time on that. If you need more time to speak, spend more time on that. You'll get the hang of like what's your perfect golden ratio. That's what we call it in extemp, when you actually start to like practice more speeches. And make sure you're always writing an outline. You're only getting 30 minutes. You literally get your topic 30 minutes before you're speaking in an extemp speech. It is a limited prep event. You have no idea before you go into the tournament what you're going to be speaking about. If you start to write out your speech word for word, I guarantee you your speech will be horrible, because you will spend way too much time on like outlining your speech, and then you won't even memorize your speech in time. You will have barely practiced your speech, and like your speech will not turn out to be good. So make sure like you're always writing an outline of your speech. You're never writing it word for word. According to the CNN article, they said this, then this means this. No, just write an outline of like each evidence, and like maybe like a sentence, or not even a sentence, a word or two for like what analysis you're going to do for that in your outline, and then just practice it and it will naturally flow basically. And yeah, that's kind of it. We're not really good at this in practice. And yeah, if you guys want to connect with me, this is just some of my socials. My email's on there. I think my Facebook is on there. My Instagram is on there. My LinkedIn is on there. So if you guys want to connect with me in any of those ways possible, then please do so. If you have any more questions about extemp, or if you just want to talk, because everyone wants to talk and have more social interaction in like the pandemic times, I'm always open. And yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Mira, for helping us and working with us. So, yeah, can you move to the next slide with the
Oh yeah, sorry.
You're completely fine. So, thank you so much once again for being a guest speaker. And just to reiterate, Make a Statement is always looking for people to help, and you can always like contact us with Project Make a Statement, our Instagram, and our email. We're always open to answer questions, and once again, our Instagram has like news on when we host another workshop or a webinar, and we also have weekly tips on speech and debate. So once again, we can answer any questions, and please reach out for Mira if you have any as well. And this is our last lesson for this curriculum, but we will have more to come. So thank you so much for sticking with us, and yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mira, as well. And
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.